Before you sit down, reach over, find somebody around you, and share a high five this morning to greet each other for an awesome day. Even if you've got to walk a few steps to find somebody to high five. Good morning. Tis the season, right? I mean, it's the beautiful level of whatever that means in Old English, tis the season. It is the season. And one of the things, and I didn't even think about this story until I got here this morning, one of my favorite memories of Christmas has to do with poinsettias. They're a seasonal flower that come out and often they adorn church frontages for the season. But I was reminded when looking at these today of a thing very early in my life. I don't even remember how old I was when my grandmother looked at me and said, "Don't eat that." And I don't know that I thought, "Ooh, that looks good." I didn't really consider that I should eat a poinsettia. It started with, "Don't eat that." So to this day, I have never tasted a poinsettia. And from what I've been told between services, I was told, yeah, they're poisonous. So stay away from poinsettias, except for the beauty of watching them and looking at them during, the season. Merry Christmas. As we get into the next few weeks, I'm sure that most of you are busy, right? If you're not busy now, you're just not trying. There's something else to buy or another shop to go see or a sale to have. I'm sure that if you check your mailbox, there'll be at least a couple coupons about that if you survive. Now, of course, tis the season. Did your tis the season start the day after Thanksgiving? Or maybe it started the week and a half before Halloween, when all the layaway commercials start. Pretty much March the 6th, which is my birthday, is when Christmas begins. And so if you're into that side of it, the marketing side of it, it's always Christmas, which is cool because as someone who stands before others and gets to talk about the coolness of Jesus Christ, if Christmas is cool all year, that's fine with me. But the tis the season part, the hustle and the bustle, I hope everybody stays hydrated, medicated, whatever you've got to do to get through this next couple weeks because I got some chuckles on medicated. That means there's people doing that. Don't worry about the family get-togethers. They'll happen the way they are. I was forced recently to miss a family get-together because of just a slight little head cold illness situation at my house, and we just decided to keep it to ourselves. And so, but you know what? There's the next one. And so this coming Christmas is the next one for many of us. So I urge you all to get out, be with family. If there's a long-lost cousin or relative that you've not talked to, reach out. We live in 2013 where a text can mean a bunch. So I just kind of start today by saying, tis the season to be with each other. And so good luck with that as that continues. Now, as we start today, I wanted to come up with a really funny Christmas story from my life. And except for the poinsettia thing, I don't really have anything. And then I was going to tell you the story about the time when I wanted to decorate the house. And so I spent all day putting lights all on the house. And then at the end of the night, I had my family come out and there was a drum roll. And I connected the extension cords and nothing happened. But then, of course, hopefully I would get a chuckle knowing that wasn't from my life. It's from it's from my favorite Christmas movie of all time. The other story that I was going to tell was the time I woke up and my family had disappeared. For my second favorite, Home Alone. If you haven't watched that yet this season, something about that is just, it means it's Christmas time when Home Alone is being played. But there is a tradition that my family had. That as I continue in today's talk, I need you all to understand that I'm not trying to tell you that your tradition is wrong. But I'm going to tell a story about a tradition from my family. And then as I've married into another family, it's the same, so it must be right. And so what I'm about to show with my visual aid, it might not be the way that your tradition does it. But I've never had an elf on a shelf or any of some of these other things that go on. But the following tradition it's very important in my family as my life has happened. But did you all have a stocking? This is my stocking. And the first service, I don't think, got what my stocking is decorated like. Does anybody understand? R2D2. This is my R2D2 stocking. Thank you. So it was either this or one with Justin Bieber on it. So I went with this one. All right, so my stocking, I want to first tell the story. When I grew up, and it continues today, Wake up Christmas morning, run downstairs, and all of the items that your family had bought or Santa had brought were laid out, and you would get in to commence the opening of the presents, and you would spend all morning opening the presents. And in my family, you would go around, and so it's like one person gets to open, and then the next person, and then the next person. It's not a race, everybody go. We take all day long to open all of the stuff, and then when it's all said and done, and you're almost tired from opening all of the things, and then Mom would say, "Well, don't forget about your stocking." Maybe anybody else experience this? Because it's at the end, I believe, when the stocking should be experienced. And the stocking was left for you. It's generally, it might have your name on it, or it's going to be decorated in some way so that everybody knows that that's for you. And the interesting thing about this, it might have been 365 days since you've thought about your stocking. I don't think any second grader, when you say, "What do you want for Christmas?" "I want a good stocking." That's not really something that you consider is a fun thing to ask for. But and our title today is "I Hope for a Good Stocking," because I want to kind of put a twist on this for just a second. But I hope, this thing about the stocking, it's interesting. Let's go through my stocking. We're going to open up and see what we got. We have some candy. Now, I don't have any marketing sponsorships for any of this, so our live streaming is hopefully legal. But of course, it's always good to have some candy in your stocking. Some some beef jerky, which says you're a man now. Let's see. I'm going to keep digging. There's some gloves, some work gloves, which are nice. And if you keep looking, there's some green cash money, which is always nice. I don't know if your stocking doesn't have at least a little bit of green cash money, it's wrong. Some good work gloves. I like those. Let's keep digging in to see what else. Some headphones. It's 2013. Everybody needs some headphones. Let's see. Some Tennessee lip balm, because even Santa knows that as a Tennessee fan, it's easy to get chapped. Let's see. The staple of the stocking, your stocking outside of dollar bills also should have socks, right? This stocking here was going to have underwear too, but I thought maybe not in church, I don't know. But let's see. The stocking continues. There's one more thing down in there. Look at this. A brand new stick of deodorant. My brand. It's exactly what I've always wanted. The thing about this stocking, man, it is full of fun things that are for me. And so after a full day of opening for Christmas, and my hopes have hopefully been met by all of the wonderful technological or whatever it is that I wanted Santa to bring me, then the stocking happens and it's just for me. I married into a family of women, and so all of their stocking have makeup. I never experienced that as a kid. My brother and I were like, we had these type of Santa stockings growing up. But what's interesting, if you stop and look at what a stocking is all about, it's for me, specifically for me. But it's stuff I need / wants, but these weren't like the top of the want list things. I mean, deodorant, for instance, is a Christmas gift it's a unique, if you wrapped up a deodorant and gave it to me for Christmas, I might think our relationship is on the decline. But, here, you need this. Merry Christmas. I love you. You need this. Deodorant is only something that Santa can give you. Socks and underwear are pretty much only something that Santa can be giving you, because there's a certain truth to what that is. It says, this is whether you wanted it or not, this is the right thing for you. This is for you. This is made for you. Now, I'm going to move all of this off in just a second, but whatever your stocking is, I want to consider that today, because I want to hope for a good stocking. Now, what I mean is I want to hope that Santa fills this with stuff that's really for me, that's meant for me. It's not meant for, my wife would care less about most of this, and I don't want her makeup or, the things that are in her stocking. This was meant even more than I thought I could understand. This stocking was created for me. Now, when I use the word hope, I hope for a good stocking. Hope is a big word at Christmas, right? I mean, there's people who don't live at the gathering, who don't comprehend what our church is about, that use the word hope this time of year. I mean, but we live in the word hope here at the gathering. And if this is the first time you've ever been here, welcome. We live in the word hope. It's an emotion. It's a lifestyle. It's a place where you realize that I'm hoping for more. I'm hoping for positive motion. I'm moving toward hoping towards things. And so it's kind of the way we are. If you had asked me, hey, tell me about the gathering, we're all about hope, man. We're all about hope. And so, but the world talks about hope right now, and hope is just such a big thing, and we could hope on big things and little things. And but this time of year, it seems like that word just kind of gets thrown around. But we know, don't we, that there's more with the word of hope. Now, I want to tell you about a group of people that knew how to hope. And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm going to tell you about the first part of the most famous story you've ever heard. And so you've heard it many times, and you're going to hear it again today. And I would like, as we read the verse in just a few minutes, I'd like you to kind of forget that you've ever heard it again, because the way I would like it to enter your brain and your heart in kind of a different way. But we're not going to dig into that just yet, because I'm going to start in with the group of people that knew how to hope, were the people of Israel before Jesus came along. And so Doug made a really awesome introduction to this last week about the way that the people before Jesus came were hopeful for a Messiah. They wanted the next phase of how we were to communicate with God. For 400 years, the people did not know the best way to communicate with God. There wasn't any way anyone sent to help us interact with God. And so for 400 years, people were hoping for someone to come along. Now, what's interesting is that they had been hoping for so long. That's a long time to wake up every day and go, well, he's not here yet. He's coming, whatever. And the thing is, if you had interviewed the people of the time, chances are they probably would not have cared as much about someone coming to deliver from their sins as much as someone to defend from an oppressive government, someone to get the leaders of the government off their back rather than eternal salvation. They would probably have cared more about Mr. T coming in and knocking the door down than what we got. And so as the generations of people would figure out what they were hoping for more than the way Jesus came. They were hoping, again, I like to say Mr. T or, Conan the Barbarian to come through and, and rip everybody's heads off. That's not what Jesus did. In the 6th month, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph. Right? You've heard all this before. A descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will be with child and give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever. His kingdom will never end." "How will this be?" Mary asked the angel, "since I am a virgin?" Okay, let's stop now. All right, so 400 years, you and your people are hoping for something awesome to happen. I don't know if you know this, I'm the youth director here, so I interact quite a bit with 5th through 12th grade young men and young women. And so if you were to interview any of those of my students, of my youth, they would probably say with this type of line of conversation, it's, yeah, we believe something's happening, but it might not happen. It's not going to happen to us. It'll happen somewhere else. Somebody else in the country will do that. Somebody else will deal with that. So I'm just going to be like everybody else, hoping for this to figuring out how it's going to happen. And so this angel comes to Mary after, she's a young girl that realized, okay, not only was there the miracle of the angel coming, that would have been enough right there to just change everything. But then the promise, or what the angel tells Mary, is not just, hey, you are going to be late for school tomorrow. It's, hey, you're going to carry a child. Now, wouldn't that change your world? Right there. Let's take the angel part of it out and just, that changes your world right there. Whether you're, in Mary's case, not married yet, or whatever your situation might be, that is enough to, in fact, change what you had been hoping for. But she asked, how can this be since I'm a virgin? And so obviously, Mary's making sense of it. It's starting to climb in for her to understand. But remember, and I want to continue. Remember, you're a teenage girl. Years and years and years of people hoping for something to happen. And then all of a sudden it starts to present itself in a different way. The angel answered, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One to be born will be called the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her old age, and who is said to be barren is in her 6th month. For nothing is impossible with God. If you have your pencil, you can underline that one. I am the Lord's servant, Mary answered. May it be to me as you have said. And then the angel left her. Okay, what I want to pay attention to is the line that we all understand, for nothing is impossible for God. But Mary's response, it started out in the range, and it ends with, I am the Lord's servant. Isn't that cool to consider that really difficult switch up in your plan to be met with, okay, I'm the Lord's servant. Now, I could only imagine it wasn't quite that easy, but I do believe in that place because I have often been there where it's like, okay, I don't even understand what's going on right now, but God, whatever you've got for me. And that's the message here, is because if you can get to that place where you understand that God is bigger than what you might have been hoping for, and just to understand that, okay, I'm on the team. I'm with it. I'm your servant. It must have been hard to say that. If I started talking about your reality right now, whatever that might be, a school thing, a work thing, a health thing, a job thing, whatever it is that you bring today as your brokenness, right? We've all got it, and I'm not going to ask everybody to raise their hand and yell it out, but we've all brought something into today that we wish would be better, wish would work out well. If I took that away from you and said, okay, all of a sudden you're a teenage girl pregnant and with that on you, it's the same sort of, oh no, how am I going to do that? I could imagine how Mary's life did not get easier after this happened. I can imagine how for the following time she was probably ridiculed or, looked down upon or judged, I'm sure, for having, I'm sure she wasn't high-fived in the streets going, all right, you're carrying the Messiah. I just don't think it was that easy. Because for each of us, when that point comes where our hope in what we might have wanted to happen turns into the reality, it's cool to think about it as a thing of, okay, I didn't even know I needed this change. Like my stocking, I didn't even know I needed some of that stuff, the deodorant, socks. I didn't even know I needed it. But if this is this is for me, so it must, somebody wants this for me. Somebody wants this next step for me that I didn't even imagine. Because when we realize when our own reality and our hope changes, and they don't measure up our hopes to what's really going on, it's a different twist. It's a different creation of our life. Now, what Mary realized and what I'm trying to talk about today is she realized that God's plan is bigger than whatever she had. And it didn't matter anymore what her hope was. From this point on, life's different. From this change, from this conversation, from this whatever, life's different. And so to be to that place where you can just say, okay, I'm the Lord's servant. It's easy for us to talk about in here on Sunday morning. It's difficult when our real life situation happens. And if you're able this week when something goes wrong to go, okay, I'm God's servant. I'm whatever you would have for me. It's a hard place to get to, but it's there. Basically, Mary learned to hope differently. And like I talked about a minute ago, our church is based around the idea of hope. But what this is talking about is a step up from that, right? It's not just hope. It's God's plan for those years before were for them to be positive and hopeful. And then when he made it a different way, the point was still to stay true with what his plan was and just to hope a little differently. It's kind of an exchange. It's kind of upgrading. It's kind of saying, okay, I've been at this level. I've been gung-ho at this level for so long. And so what's cool is my God is bigger than everything I can imagine, so my hope can get that big too. My hope doesn't die because my expectations are not met. I opened up my wonderful R2-D2 stocking, and I might have looked at those work gloves going, I don't really want to do the work that's attached to those work gloves. I might not think I need deodorant. I can look at the things that were meant for me for the right thing and go, but just because my expectations are not met, my hope can still be there. My hope lies in the God who not only has the power to present the end by the means, but the end and the means. Does that make sense? So the end's changing. Something has happened. Something has occurred that is changing the next few steps of our walk. But I still have the hope that the end and the means are in his view as he's telling me which way to go. Now, for those of us in this room and live streaming and as a family of this church, you know that we've had a tough year and a half. We've had a tough little while of trying to figure out what's next. And so this isn't necessarily the bulk of my topic today, but it is the real life application of, okay, something happened and our life is now different than what we thought it was going to be. Our next steps are different than what we thought they were going to be. And in the first service, I digressed a long way down this path, and I don't really want to go that far today, except to say the point is not that we've lost hope or that we're anywhere different than God's plan had us, but it's just that we need to hope differently, right? That in the same way, and I'm certainly not saying that the next person that's going to stand here is in any way a Messiah, but in the same way that the people thought, well, what we need is Mr. T to come in and break down the walls. Maybe you think what we need here at the gathering is certainly is a bright, shiny leader or something like that. And I don't know what the answer is. I can't tell you what God's plan is on that. All I know is that his plan has it figured out. I don't, and I'm the Lord's servant. And so my job is to show up and keep going and keep doing. And so whether I bring into the analogy your personal health or job or situation or our families as it comes to this church situation that we aren't sure what's next. I don't need to be sure what's next. Hear my heart here, I don't care what's next except that we're moving forward. And so whatever God's plan is for that and whatever, as my hope changes and as my expectation is altered, that's okay. As long as I'm remembering to know that I'm God's servant. And so you can take that for what it's worth. You can hear me. Hopefully you hear my heart when I bring all of that up. But when we have the opportunity to continue to be positive or negative, when we have the opportunity that news comes our way, I would hope that each of us in this room would get to that place where, okay, I'm in God, whatever it is. I'm going to keep serving. I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep going. Even if I don't know the answer, even if, I'm not sure. Because I want each of us to go into Christmas and say, I hope for a good stocking, right? Now, I started the topic talking about that's not something a second grader really says, is I want a good stocking. I don't think anybody who goes into their Christmas saying, man, I just hope I get a good stocking. But my point is, that's the stuff that you don't even know you want. And so this year, this holiday season, every day, this is a topic I could give in June. It just fits with the stocking. The point is, when you don't even realize what you need, and then something's laid out for you that's only for you, that's better than you could ever have imagined, that's better than you even could have dreamt up or make a list about. The things in this stocking were not on my list. The things that are the next step of our life, it might not be on my list. But I can get to that place where I've got enough hope to know God's in it. I talk sometimes with our youth group. We have quick lessons in there. I call them 7-minute lessons, and it's really just a way to get their attention, and sometimes they turn into 15, 20 minutes, but it's, who's ready for a 7-minute lesson? And then they go, yay, and then we do, as long as it takes for me to make the point. And when I'm talking about funny things at the start, it's funny because some of them are in here, and I'm not giving away a secret. I think they get it, but I'll start talking about a light story or a topic or something that is just on the surface, and it's not reality yet. It's just a funny thing about me, and they're all interacting and laughing back and forth. And then the minute I talk about something that's right in their heart, that means, oh yeah, and I can see their heads go. And it's not a shame thing. It's I don't want to make eye contact anymore. And it's, sometimes it'll be on their phone, which it's funny because in a room you can see the faces glowing when they're back on their phone. And that's when I know it. Oh, I've got them. I've got them where I want them because I'm making sense. And so it's not about me seeing your faces today or what you've done, but I think I'm making sense. I think a very simple message today for each of us that we can hopefully take here and use in our real world this week is that I want you to remember to hope for something even more than you have comprehension over. And as I'm finished today, because this is the extent of my talk, I want you to take with you this week that thing that I said that hit you today, that might have gotten in your soul that said, okay, I've doubted, or I've forgotten, or, God's never silent. Sometimes we're not listening. Does that make sense? It's not that he's gone away or doing anything different. It's that his plan is so bigger than we could ever comprehend. So thank you for being here today. I hope all of the best as you get into your Merry Christmas season. And I hope we all have a really awesome stocking. I'm going to pray us up. Lord God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the people in this room, the people streaming online, the people who are going to watch this one day on whatever version of YouTube or anything, because I'm so thankful that your word and your message can get to people and that can be something that your promise of your hope and your grace is something we can comprehend, not only at this season, but that we can continue to grow in understanding that you're bigger than we can imagine and that there's more to what your plan is for us than we even see. And that when we doubt, our point is just to remember we are your servant. And that our goal is to just continue on following with whatever you have. Be with these people, be with this church. Lord, I ask you to just give us the confidence to keep moving. Give us the understanding and the grace and the power of within ourselves to just get up and to be positive the next day with your name. Because all of this is in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all. Rock on. Merry Christmas.